Even though I've never used AI outside of my law practice, never tried ChatGPT, never will try ChatGPT or anything. I watched the Terminator, man. I still think it's the end of civilization, but nevertheless, I will use it to maximize my business's value. We employ as much of it as we can now in our operations.
Welcome back to Harry Handles It. Today's guest went from hauling trash as a Teamster to building a national legal powerhouse. He's the founding partner of Lerner and Rowe, and a man who's made a career out of punching back at bullies. Glen Lerner, welcome to the show. Let's get into it. Glen, welcome. I'm Harry Nalbandian. We met off of the recording. Very nice to meet you, man. I've seen your billboards for probably as long as I've been in and out of Vegas, so it's really awesome to see and talk to the man himself.
How you doing, Harry?
So can you give me a little bit of background about how you ended up, with Lerner and Rowe with kind of a national presence?
Goodness gracious, I started 35 years ago. Did a little bit of everything in the beginning with a little practice called Budget Legal. I went off on my own right after I finished law school, and really didn't start doing any large-scale advertising about 7 years into my practice. One of my employees had worked for a big advertiser out of Texas, and she said, "I think you'd do good with this." So went down, filmed a few commercials in Dallas with one call. That's all. And first month, spending $10,000, I got 66 new clients. $166 a case.
That's
Boy,
incredible.
makes you pine away for yesterday, doesn't it? Now you're paying $3,000-$4,000 a case easily across the market,
Those numbers are different now for sure.
Absolutely. It's a very competitive business model now. And so I think maybe one of the things we can discuss is how, with this increased competition, case costs, acquisition prices having doubled, tripled, quadrupled over the last 5-6 years, how do you still stay ahead of the curve, keep making more money and be better? It's not easy.
Yeah, for sure it's not. It's always finding that competitive edge, doing stuff like this, doing whatever you can to get ahead of the game. But I haven't been in the game as long as you have, that's for sure. But how has the landscape changed over the last 3 decades? I mean, it seems like going from $166 a case to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a case now. It's different.
Oh, absolutely. Gee whiz. In the old days, you could see there'd be a few guys on billboards, 1 or 2 personal injury attorneys, a bankruptcy attorney. Gee whiz, every other billboard in almost any major city in America is a personal injury attorney. Just as, one of these models, it's a unique business model in that anybody with one lucky case can become your competitor. If they don't take the money and go spend it on a big car or a new house, they put it into marketing. Anybody can go get a big case, refer it out to a nationally recognized trial attorney, take their 40-50% and say, "Hey, I can do what that idiot does,"
I feel like people have caught on to that, and that's why the competition is increasing with the amount of billboards up there.
Absolutely.
What was it like scaling, from the 90s, and how's that different than the last 5 years after COVID?
I think for a long time, being bigger was, I want to be bigger. Maybe at one point we're up to close to 500 employees. Now I want to be smaller. Let's keep utilizing technology. Let's get under 200 people, because it's all about profit margin now. How, it's, in this whole new business world with consolidation, everything upon us, how do you become the most profitable business that you can become while still generating great results for clients?
For sure. Most of your staff, the 200 people, do you find them?
Oh, no, I wish I was at 200 people. We're still probably about 350 at least.
Nice. Where's the chunk of that staff go? Is it going for the marketing intake side? Is it more of the legal services side?
No, I think intake's a small percentage, but it's still, dozens of people. With your core people, obviously at the top. I think for the most part, it's paralegals, case managers, case manager assistants, accounting, firm wide, somewhere 50 to 60 attorneys.
Nice. Yeah. That's heavy. That's no small feat.
I don't know about that. I don't think size is indicative of how good you are or how profitable you are. I know some firms around the country that are much more profitable than I am. And, they're a third of my size and they get, a third of our volume. So I think it's, what we've been focusing on over time is It's become more competitive. You don't get as many cases as you used to get. Keep focusing and getting more value per case. And we're getting better. Obviously, it's harder as you get older. I started this in my mid 20s, now in my early 60s. And so I think you look at where you're going as a businessman and just keep trying to learn and improve with all the opportunities out there to, I think, make yourself much leaner.
Yeah. And that's something that we've been focusing on too as of lately. It's how can we extract, especially with AI and all these new tools that are available. I feel like we can give our team some of these tools that helps them extract more out of their day. So if a paralegal's, working 8 hours a day, doing half of that mundane tasks that can be eliminated by technology tool,
Of course.
that allows them to handle more caseload, that allows them to give better service to the clients and ultimately drive better results.
I agree, absolutely. I mean, that's all we're trying to do is just how to become, I mean, the number one word is efficient. How do you
Yeah,
become more and more efficient in operating a business? Because if you don't get more efficient, if you just try to stay with the old ways, you will go out of business. I think I'm a
100%.
very competitive person. I was a collegiate athlete, as was my partner, and we're very competitive. And I think that's what probably drives us a lot, that competitive nature to always try to improve, no matter how good you're doing. Okay, good. My number one word with everybody, great. You guys be good. Now let's do better, better, better. We can be better, better, better. Never being satisfied. And it's that's a hard thing, I think, sometimes on people. I think I balance it with my personality and a lot of the love and everything and the fun that I bring to the table, but I'm never satisfied. I refuse to ever become complacent. We want to strive for excellence. Most of the time you're not achieving excellence, but unfortunately, when you have a lot of people, that's the people, the only thing that can hurt anything.
This is a people business at the end of the day, you know.
Absolutely. But you're only as good as your weakest link.
Man, what was the evolution like over the last 30 years? I mean, there wasn't CMS software before, now there is. Has your firm gone through different evolutions where you kind of had to shed your
Of course.
skin and
Of course. Yeah.
evolve
Just
to
just in
butterfly?
terms of different softwares, you keep jumping on the next bandwagon. Truly believe, even though I've never used AI outside of my law practice, never tried Chat GPT, never will try Chat GPT or anything. I watched the Terminator, man. I still think it's the end of civilization, but nevertheless, I will use it to maximize my business's value. We employ as much of it as we can now in our operations. I'm a process-oriented person, so as often as we can stick to the process and follow through, we're going to try to do that. But we've seen a change, obviously. I think you could be successful in spite of yourself in the past. That's no longer the case. I think if you don't really try to stay ahead of the curve and keep watching where this business model's going, I think you're just going to fall behind.
Agree, man. And like in California, and I think Nevada dealt with this earlier too. Not only is there AI, not only is the I don't call it a threat, but not only is the implementation of AI an important factor to consider, but there's a tax on our business model
Plus,
from
all the Uber
big
crap,
corporations.
we dealt with it up in Carson City for, gee whiz, a year plus, and now they've attacked you guys. And obviously, your state being so much bigger, and you're just ahead of the curve, California, compared to any other state, I think, in terms of getting people on the bandwagon to be able to fight. But it's the amount of money that you guys are having to raise to fight Uber is, I mean, it's mind blowing. It's well into the nine figures now.
The amount
I
of
mean,
money
that's the,
they're putting in
yeah.
too is mind blowing.
Gosh, yeah. It's crazy. The funny thing is, it shows you what scumbags Uber really is, because Uber could not have gotten into Nevada with the hold that some of the cab companies had without the trial lawyers pushing for them to come in. And then once we help them get in, they turn on us and now they try to reduce our fees. So same crap they did with you guys.
How is the landscape of kind of the driverless cars and taxis that are now more prevalent in Nevada? Is that changing your outlook on the industry?
I mean, certainly if there's an accident involving them, I think it gives you far deeper pockets and becomes a nice products liability case. We see it dramatically. Our main office, our largest practice is Arizona, where we probably have, gee whiz, two-thirds of our people. And that's where I live, well, part of the year. And they have the Waymos everywhere. And those little Waymos are crazy little buggers. Those things are flying all over the place. Half the time they just stop signs are suggestions to them.
They are. It's a trip if you've ever sat in one.
I will never sit in one. I
It's
don't
pretty
trust
wild.
any of this stuff. Maybe it's based on my age. Maybe it's based upon what I do for a living. I don't trust any of this technology.
The drive that you have you ever found it to fade at all, or is it just kind
No,
of the
not
engine that
not in
keeps
the least.
spinning?
I think I think it just keeps evolving in terms of other things as I stay involved in this business model, as I see this business model starting to change a lot, morphing into other things, other businesses I'm involved in. I'm just competitive. And it's not about money. I've never been a money-driven guy. I grew up very, very poor, and none of this has been about money. I think it's just trying to just compete and be the best I can be. I never compare myself to any other attorneys. I don't look at John Morgan and say, "Oh, I wish I were John Morgan." I'm happy being the man I am, who I've evolved into as a man, my relationship with Jesus Christ, who I am as a father. That's what I care about. I don't deal with anybody unless I like who they are as people. I don't need anything from anybody.
That's awesome, man. Like, it's rare that, when you're in person, you can feel somebody's energy. It's hard to feel somebody's energy over this kind of volume, but I feel like it's pretty apparent in this
Yeah, I have a
conversation.
very unique energy, and I think anybody that's ever around me knows it. But that's not me. That's just nothing in good. Nothing is good in me except God in me, and what God has done in me over the last 20 years. I am a firstborn Jewish male that was bar mitzvahed. I majored in Judaic studies of Jesus Christ, and on April 26, 2006, he hit me upside the head with a 2x4, and he said, "You belong to me, dude." And it's changed my life as a man, taken a marriage that was broken and turned it into as good a marriage as there is on the planet Earth. And I'm very thankful and humbled that God in his infinite grace and mercy is, I guess, just showed me that I'm worthy. That's the most important thing. All of us are all chasing this crap because of a sense of unworthiness. Oh, I need to prove I'm this. I have nothing to prove. I like people. I'm having fun doing what I do. I want to be the best steward of my people. I want to be a godly boss. I want to be the best boss that when my people go home, the women are better wives, the husbands are better fathers, they treat their kids better. You want to be an example. I mean, we're put in wonderful positions when we're bosses. It's a wonderful thing when we have the position we have in our communities around the country. It's cool, man. I don't take that lightly. So to be able to be a godly boss and a good steward of my people, that's except for what I'm doing in my family, that's a wonderful opportunity.
That's incredible to hear. The reason why this job isn't easy, and the best part about it, though, is the ability to create opportunities for the people we work with every day. That's something that drives me. That's something that what you said resonates pretty hard. To give people the opportunity to better themselves, to better the community, and better our clients' lives. The mission is always to help more, and I feel like that's in line with the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but let's not kid ourselves. Not every client's going to be happy. And we've
Of course not.
represented probably 250,000 people over the years. There are some people that we've absolutely left behind. I'm sorry, let down. There are clients that we've done incredible jobs for that unfortunately they have unreasonable expectations or write a negative review and we did nothing wrong. That's the price of playing poker. If you don't like it, do something else. I never get too upset about it. I just don't like if clients write stuff that aren't true. And,
Yeah.
we have one attorney, his only job in the world is to respond to any negative things online, anybody that's using our names, crap like that. And he can stay busy, It is what it is.
When you help the volume of people that you do, that we do, it's for sure you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, you try to, and I take it personally if somebody feels like we let them down, whether it's true or not. Something happened in the messaging. Maybe they just weren't coddled the way they needed to be by the attorney or someone on the staff, but you always use it as an opportunity to improve. We never take it like, oh, forget this person or screw this person. Gosh, that'd be terrible. There's a famous restaurateur named Danny Myers, one of the most famous restaurateurs in America out in New York. And I used to operate under the false thinking that the client is always right. And so when I would always think, hey, the client's always right. If the client writes this, I'm automatically putting the client at odds with my employee. And I'm creating they're vying for my affection. And that creates an impasse potentially in my relationship with my employee. And once I read what Danny Meyer wrote, he wrote, the client isn't always right. Nobody's always right. The client wants to be heard. That's a game changer when you think about that. Because now you're not I mean, obviously, if the client's always right, then you and your employee are going to be diametrically opposed all the time because you're always going to be taking the client's side against your own employee. You can't do that. So I think once I had that mindset change a long time ago, it helped me, I think, bridge the gap between client disputes and things with my employees and try to come up with something that worked for everybody.
That also hits home. Recently, last week, I had a meeting with one of our clients who was upset about the communication. And all I really did was just hear her out for 20 minutes, her complaints, the communication issues. And I mean, she wasn't right about any part of the case or her expectations about it. But having been heard and having been reassured that she is being heard and that, the communication will improve, I walked away from that meeting, felt like that relationship was repaired.
Absolutely. I think any relationship where it's just been easy sailing the whole time, person's never really going to give it much thought. Yeah, he was okay. It was fine relationship. But where they feel like you've let them down, then you have a chance to repair that relationship and you did right by them. You're always going to be the man to them in the future. My partner is amazing at that. He's the best in America at taking a 1-star review and turning it to a 5-star review. Me, if I get a 1-star review and if I'm told to do it, I'm calling up the person, as long as it's not like an old lady, and saying, meet me out in the parking lot. I'll show you what a 1-star review looks like. So needless to say, I don't handle those things in the office.
I hate to be a bully against you, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I could fight when I was young.
I saw something on the website. You into martial arts at all?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was into them for a long time.
Nice. Which specific area or multiple areas?
I did a form called Kuk Wan that was actually, everybody thinks that Taekwondo is a martial art, but it's actually a sport. Kuk Wan was the actual martial art of Korea, and it was kind of an aggregation of multiple forms because of where it was located in Korea, of Aikido, karate, a bunch of different forms. And so it was kind of fun. I practiced with a bunch of different masters for years, just one-on-one training. But, you don't use something, you lose it. I became relatively proficient and it was good. But I think sometimes as you become good at something, you think you're a tough guy. And I think it's good to always check that aggression and, realize, I think it helps in the long run that it makes you more humble than anything. There's always someone bigger and badder.
I'll never forget the first time I did jiu-jitsu. I walked onto the mat, and I was always like the fat kid. I just always had size on my side. And so when I walked onto the mats, saw somebody who weighed like 140 pounds, I was like, all right, what's going to happen? Big ego, walk in, just get wrecked. Wrecked. And that humbling experience, and as it continues to grow, is always there. So it's always a nice way to come back down to earth. I feel like.
Well, I think, and also if you've trained at all or been involved in fighting, the only guys I'd always prefer to fight, I'd always want to fight the biggest giant guys, because big guys never had to have any technique. They always ruled by fear. People were intimidated by their size, but you knew exactly what they would do. Their first move's going to be, and it's over. Once you get inside on them. So those were the best guys to fight. Man, if there was like a dude smaller than me, and I don't want to mess with that guy, SAS Loco.
It takes a certain type of person to be able to do that,
Now I'm at that point. I have no interest in any altercations. You start getting older and you slow down. I don't need any of this stuff.
That's the last thing I need to prove in my life.
Absolutely.
Tell me what your firm's core values are. Do you guys practice any?
I think we're so community oriented what we do. I don't think there's a more philanthropic firm in the United States. We put millions of dollars a year back into our communities. I mean, we just had a golf tournament 2 weeks ago. We raised over $1 million from our golf tournament, and every cent of that goes back into the community. It's all self-funded by us. We don't get paid back. Anybody that's listening on this that likes golf, I think unequivocally anybody that's played in our Lerner and Rowe golf event, Lerner and Rowe gives back. At the end of every April, we'll tell you it's the best corporate golf event they've ever participated in. I think we give away more swag than the Oscars. Probably give away $800 to $1,000 of swag to every single person. It's a really cool event. We have 320 golfers every year. And it's obviously because it's in Arizona with such incredible weather in late April that it's, we get people from all over the country and it keeps growing. So we're going to start trying to do it more in some of our other markets besides Arizona.
Awesome, man. As somebody who's in, the first quarter of their career, like what were the evolutions? I mean, you started off on your own after law school. Everybody scrapes by at the beginning. And then at some point decided to really invest in the business and then invest in the community after that. Is that kind of the evolution of Lerner and Rowe?
It's hard to invest in the community if your business isn't growing, it's, but I think as we kept doing better, we found that, certainly I think it's incumbent upon us as men, we've been blessed so much from the community. You can't just say, hey, keep giving to me, keep coming to me, let me keep making money off you and not be involved and give back. And I think more than anything, it really helps to engage your employees. Besides being incumbent upon us as men and leaders, certainly engages our employees. I think our employees are proud of their bosses, the types of men that we are. and what we do in the communities. I reckon we probably either stuff that's led by us or that our people involved in. I reckon around the country, we probably have a minimum of 125 to 150 things we do a year. Besides our, and we feed 6,000 to 8,000 families every Thanksgiving, not people, families, every single Thanksgiving. Our back to school drives, we take care of probably 8,000 kids, but not just some stupid backpack. I mean, everything they need for back to school. So little things like that that are funded by the law firm itself. And then, of course, Lerner and Rowe gives back and what it does with the different charities throughout Arizona, whether it's homelessness, added women, child kidnappings like that, child trafficking, things that are dear to our hearts and certainly part of the fabric of the community. But it's nice as men to be considered part of the fabric of the community. I think a few years ago, we were named the most philanthropic business in Phoenix. And, that's pretty interesting when you think about it for lawyers. Most people think lawyers were all scumbags and people almost like us.
I'm sure all the families you help love you guys.
Yeah, but you don't do it because you don't want Instagram likes or this or whatever people. I've never been on social media in my life, so I don't know. But whatever they give you. And you do it because it's just, I grew up with a father in jail for double murder. I grew up on welfare. This is all a joke to me. I've been so blessed. I couldn't even dream of what I've been blessed with in this life. And so to be able to touch others and do things is pretty an amazing thing.
The most successful people I know in life, not just money wise, but family, community, everything. It seems like gratitude and that feeling of luck is almost ingrained in every single one of those people. And I see that in you now.
Yeah, but as you read your Bible, I read my Bible every day of my life. And, the constant theme, especially in, books like Ecclesiastes, is, guy, you're toiling your entire life for all this stuff. We all want this. I want what Jeff Bezos has. I want this. I want that. And you're leaving it for somebody else. You're toiling after something that's never going to satiate you. It's just all stuff, and you're not taking it with you. Simple as that. No matter how hard you try, it ain't coming with you. So what do you leave? And all you're gonna leave is, love, touching people really in an amazing way. I try to live my life, especially now since I came to Christ, in a really simple way. How would I be eulogized? I had a good friend of mine who's very respected in the business, and he said a really nice thing about me a long time ago. He was comparing me to another very well-known attorney across the country, and he's a different man than me. And he said, "How would you describe Glen?" He said, "Well, Glen's quite a character, but Glen is an honest man." That's a nice thing to have said about you, isn't it? Because we live in a world with not a lot of honest men now. And if that's all they said about me in my eulogy, he's an honest man. He loved God. He loved people, man. What else are they going to say? They're never going to say I was the richest man on the planet. I don't give a crap about that. I got way more than I ever thought I'd have, and it's more than I can use.
Incredible, man. So tell me about, it takes a lot of work to get into the community and do all these events. Do you have an entire team dedicated to that?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have a team in our Arizona office. Every office has somebody that handles it, but because Arizona is so much bigger and it actually has the true foundation, Lerner and Rowe gives back. We actually have a foundation head who's a salaried employee that does all the things in the community, whether it's us being the Fiesta Bowl parade sponsor, things like that, whatever. It's certainly a concerted effort. My partner's really been the catalyst for that. So much of, I'm the guy nationally. I have the big personality. I know everybody in America in this industry, but I don't really, when I'm in Arizona, I keep to myself. Whereas my partner, he knows everybody in Arizona. He's on like every board. He's the one who's so intimately involved, and he's the one who really built our foundation to what it is and put all these people in a place to succeed, that it's become something really cool. And one thing I'd say, I don't know, is anybody listening to this thing? Hopefully there are a few people listening. If anybody wants, feel free to always reach out to me. I'm an evangelist. Anybody that knows me, I'm an evangelist trapped in a personal injury lawyer's body. And so any opportunity that I have to help one of you build a gives back program, we'll send our people out on our dime just to show you what it takes. It's baby steps. You're not going to get to $1 million golf event in 1 year. We started off, I think the first year was like 50, 60,000. Then it was 100,000 to 200. In the last 4 years, we've done $1 million each year plus. Right. And so it's building something over the last 13 years, but it takes that first step. And a lot of times people just need that little push to take the first step.
Yeah.
Offering my services if you want them.
So the reason why I'm really asking about this is because one of our quarterly goals this year is to start a project like this, is to get involved in the community. It's easy to come up with ideas, and there's a million of them. But how do you execute on it, and where do you start is a good question.
Maybe speak to your employees. What's near and dear to them? Or maybe you have an employee whose mother just died of breast cancer, and so you guys want to do something involved with that. Or get 20 of your employees out for a breast cancer walk. Just start with little things, and as people get more engaged, it becomes something I think that absolutely galvanizes your employee base. I think it brings a lot of your people closer. It turns it more into a family, and that it's just people clocking in and clocking out. Our people, our main core people, and I think every business has to have their core people, but they bleed Lerner and Rowe. They ain't going anywhere ever. And that's what you build your business around. It's like any football team. Every year, they're going to be free agents coming in, free agents getting released, this and that. Who are your core people you're going to build around? And that's what you focus on.
Wow. Have you found that it's been harder as you've scaled to 350 plus? It's easy to do
I've
when
actually
you've got
scaled
people.
down now. I've scaled down at 350. No, I think it's trying to have those. I mean, obviously you delegate certain things so that, there's leaders for leaders and leaders and leaders and people that, there's a chain of command. Certainly we can't do everything. We run a business now. But I don't think anything's difficult if you scale it appropriately and you do it, do everything in a methodical manner. I'm just such a process-driven person that I truly want just a clearly defined process, and I want to share that vision with people. And you get people that buy in or they don't. If they don't buy in, they go play with someone else's team. They ain't on my team anymore. Simple as that. Like any sports team.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Has your religious studies major, studying religious studies or working with the little guys before you started this law practice, has that helped you to be able to connect with some of the people that we represent?
Of course it did. I grew up as a little guy with my father in jail for double murder on welfare. I worked on a garbage truck in the summers. I delivered beer for the Teamsters in the summer. I was a Teamster. I always wanted to do those jobs because I was the best athlete. I was the best student. I got into Harvard, Stanford, Dartmouth, and Duke. I knew I wasn't going to be a garbage man for life. It was, I read, one of Shakespeare's great works is, what is it, Henry II, when so you have the character Falstaff and, young King Henry, who everybody just thinks, oh, he's just going to be, well, no, not Henry II, it's Henry IV. But anyways, who becomes one of the great kings of England. But when he's young, they think this guy's a fool. All he does is hang around with all the drunkards, Falstaff and all these other people. And he's like, oh my God, this guy's going to be the worst king England ever has. Well, he says, when the time comes, I will show them my true colors. Because he knew to rule, to lead people, you have to be among them. You can't lead people and understand people if you haven't lived like them. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity, growing up the way that I did. I never forgot where I came from. None of this is really, my house might be nicer than some other dude's house, and then the next guy up the street, his is better than mine. They're just roofs covering our heads. My car's nicer than yours, his is nicer than mine. Gets me from point A to B. It's just it's stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't define us, and it never defined me. I never forgot where I came from, and I think that's a good quality, and I urge everybody to be that way. The Bible says, do not forget the wife of your youth. I see so many of my friends, so many guys I've known in this business, they stop making a little money. They dump their wife of 10, 12, 15 years, and they're on to some 22-year-old, it's an embarrassment.
The hedonistic pleasures.
Yeah, it's just the brokenness and fallen nature of man. We are what we are.
We're all imperfect.
We are all broken little people in need of a savior. And he has come. In my earlier incarnation as a firstborn Jewish male, and I am still a firstborn Jewish male, I was always waiting on the Messiah. And now that I've had the revelation of him and know that he already came, that's a big difference. I'm no longer waiting for the boat. It already came in.
Boats in all of us.
And it's funny, one of my best friends in the world, an Israeli man who's just like my brother, he just gave his life to Christ. It's what a blessing. I just think a lot of Jews are coming to Christ. They want something more. God is real and alive. He's not G/D. He doesn't, he wants us to scream out to him, Father, Abba. He wants a real relationship with us, but we're imperfect people trying to relate with a holy God who says, be holy because I'm holy. And the only way we can do that is through the intermediary intercessor, Jesus Christ. And that revelation changed my life, and I'm always going to proclaim it every time I do podcasts, whatever. I don't care. If I plant one little seed with one person that they open their Bible, it's so funny. Last night, a guy I haven't spoken to in years says, Glenn, I just gave my life to Jesus. I said, wow, that's awesome. He said, thank you for taking the time to share him with me years ago. You know, you never know when that seed's going to just start to germinate in somebody. That's the greatest gift you can give anybody in life. You know, salvation, you know, in a broken, fallen world, giving somebody something that has truth to it. You know, it changed my life, changed my marriage, changed who I am as a father. You know, and so that's all I can do. I don't really care about anything else. If people are like, oh, you shouldn't be here proclaiming Jesus on this, I don't give a crap. Turn it off if you don't like me. I could care less. I'm not looking for rewards from men. I need nothing from anybody.
Glenn, you're the man. I mean, you have built, and you continue to build something very special, giving back to the community. People around you are lucky. So
One
this was an
thing, though,
awesome
we haven't
conversation.
touched on, Harry, and I think it's something that you absolutely need to touch on, is where's this business going?
Yeah, tell
Where's the
me.
business of law going? Because I think everybody, you see, I mean, I joke around now. It came out in the news a few months ago. My buddy, one of my close friends, Chad Dudley, sold his law practice to private equity. So I call it pre-Chad Dudley and post-Chad Dudley. I think it's the first time people have realized that a nationally recognized firm like Dudley DeBosier could get packaged up with this whole new MSO structure. And this whole concept of consolidation that has touched the industry. Before this happened, I think people had heard about it. We had heard about it. We had actually been in the process of doing some stuff. And now what's happened with it and how quickly it's taking the industry by storm. The truth is, with case costs going up, competition going up, unless you're part of something bigger, unless you're going to have an infusion of capital, it's going to get harder and harder to compete. I think for us, we saw the writing on the wall, and it has to be the right fit. For us, we found the right fit for us. We found a group that we just, one of the partners lives in Naples, Florida, where I live. The other partner lives in Paradise Valley, Arizona, where I live. You
Nice.
can't, that's not even a coincidence, and we just hit it off, and we shared vision. I can't tell people that the people that we've gone with are the right way to go. They were for us. Where are you in your stage of practice for a guy that's a young guy that thinks that there's a lot of runway left in this business model? Maybe it's not the way to go. I've been doing this 35 years, and there are probably 5 guys in the country that understand this model better than I do and absolutely see where it's going. This has changed. Consolidation is upon us. Consolidation is a reality. They're going to have a number of giant roll-ups, whatever you want to call them, that try to compete with the Morgan and Morgan monstrosity. And he's created an incredible firm, John. He's a brilliant man. You're going to see a couple monster firms because this is the only one of the service industries that has not had consolidation yet. Yet it's the most valuable one. Think about it. We are the only one of the service industries where every one of us has big brands. Gee whiz. We spend $35-40 million a year. The other ones involved with us spend big money. I mean, we're the most known people in our communities. There's never been the opportunity to consolidate businesses where the people that you're consolidating are quasi celebrities. So it's a very unique business opportunity and time in our business model because of the increased competition, the increased costs, the difficulty of running a business as you go further, the ability to consolidate and aggregate capital. It's a very interesting time and it's fun. For me, I think it was a no-brainer because of just as a numbers cruncher, looking at how it works out financially and the ability to be bigger and compete with smarter people. And it's a relational thing, kind of getting to bring in some of the people into this group that are guys I've worked with and been friends with for a long time. So kind of handpicking some of my partner firms has been a lot of fun for me. And I see the opportunity. It's where we're going though, man. This business model's changed.
So have you started in the business of consolidating and just absorbing in other firms?
Uh-huh.
Nice, man.
Yes, it's where I think it truly is where this business model is going to evolve over the next 4 or 5 years. There's just not enough runway left in this model for I think 2 reasons probably. I think the autonomous vehicles certainly are going to shorten the life expectancy of this business model outside of, different types of large scale litigation. But truly AI, I absolutely believe that AI within 5 to 7 years will eviscerate what we know as our claims model at this point in time. And eventually the only thing that will be left standing will be, firms with vibrant litigation practices where the AI from the insurance company and the AI from some app that gets the majority of the people online, they can't agree on some number. But this is absolutely turning into something that will be controlled by artificial intelligence over the next 5 to 7 years. And
Interesting.
that's why I'm going the direction I am. I really see this changing. And sometimes lawyers hear me, oh man, you're like the prophet of doom. I'm not the prophet of doom, but you can either put your head in the sand or you can look up and see where AI is going, see what's happening with this stuff. It's so much more efficient than our people. And if the whole purpose of, Even Up, look what Even Up is doing. I don't know if you've ever played with Even Up software, but you go in there and they're training their software. Finch Legal, they're training their software to do all the tasks that our people do. So eventually why are they going to pay an attorney 33% when they could pay some app 3 to 5% to do exactly what our staff is doing, only better because they do the same thing the right way every time and they learn from their mistakes. That's what AI does. It
That's a
learns from
big
its
one.
mistakes, unlike our people that keep making the same mistakes until we learn from the mistake of keeping them. But nevertheless, it's evolving, and I see the writing on the wall, man, and I just see there's a unique opportunity in this model right now. It's just, I think everybody's perspective can be skewed based upon where they are on, are they a legacy
Sure.
practice? Do they have kids? Do I want to leave my kids something? Well, what are you leaving your kid if the business model's, going the way of the dinosaurs soon? All businesses change, man. Everything changes. Everything that started off, think about all the household products we use nowadays. Almost everything else started as some sort of a snake oil or something else. It just evolves.
For sure.
And we're just, and it's funny, I was talking to Chad. I was actually dinner with Chad Dudley, who's a close friend of mine in Nashville last week. And we were talking about it, for the guys, when you're considering being part of a roll up and being under something bigger with your new MSO. Is this your journey? Is this your destination? Guys that are afraid, guys like, I'm a lawyer. I'm going to go down with the ship. Well, being a lawyer was your destination. Being a lawyer, this has been part of my journey. Glen Lerner is not defined by Glen Lerner, the guy that you see on TV or this or that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not me. This is whatever I've done has been this part of this journey. What's the next step? And I think that's how people have to look at this. Is this the right opportunity for them? And it's an interesting time. I've never seen a more interesting time in this business model, though. Truly unique. And I think the people that take advantage of it, I think they'll be rewarded. And the people that don't, there's still time. I still think people will still keep making money, but it's harder and harder and harder and harder. Why wouldn't you take money up front, get several years of money up front, pay long-term capital gains instead of ordinary income, get a big infusion of capital, allow you to keep competing, get smarter people than people like me running your business, young people that actually understand numbers and how do we really keep improving metrics and this and that and be something better than what you were.
For sure.
But that's the
Now,
future, man.
do you have a take on AI just replacing the courtroom lawyers? Ultimately, the end game for any one of
No.
these cases. Yeah.
AI cannot replace the courtroom lawyers. So ultimately, there will always be a place for litigation. But the vast, for a firm like ours, where, 85% of our revenue is driven by the claims practice, it'll eventually just decline to the point. I mean, I call it the hopper, how many open cases we have at any one time. Our hopper is probably down 26% over the last 5 years, but we've doubled our profit.
Nice.
Well, not nice. It's a matter of urgency and a matter of just evolving as a businessman, getting more money for every case, not wasting time on bad cases. Because the way I grew up, I want to help everybody. You can't help everybody. But there are other services out there that you can maybe refer to other attorneys. There's AI applications you can refer to help people with a side swipe nobody would take. It's hard for us sometimes to turn people down, like bleeding hearts. But those cases, those are the ones with the most unreasonable expectations usually. And they take up that time on desk. Time on desk is the number one killer of law firms. So how do
Yeah.
you become more and more efficient, move those cases?
It's interesting. Doing this, I think of how can I lead a team to become trial lawyers? And how can I enable everybody that's working with us to be able to become, if they can, if they want to, train them to be able to be that courtroom lawyer? And how do you
Trial
scale
lawyers are born, not made. You can get anybody to go and be a half competent lawyer in court. But great lawyers, people that get big money, they are born. They are not made. And I will say that to the day I die. Can I, can they get people to buy into them? That's it. My joke was always, when I was young, I did a lot of trials, and someone saw me in trial once and they said, "Hey man, how'd you get so good in front of a jury?" And I said, I went to Tulane for law school back in the late 80s. If I can get a girl in the French Quarter to give me a phone number or maybe a little something more at 3:30 in the morning when I had too much to drink, you don't think I can get a jury of 8 people that aren't smart enough to get out of jury duty? You don't think I convince them of anything I want? And that's the truth, man. It's just human interaction, reading people, talking to people. You're either born with that or you're not. You can either talk to people on their level, not yours, or you can't. I don't give a crap. I have the feeling I can take any file, look at it quickly, and go try a case. I can't say I'm going to get, $100 million verdict, but I know I'm going to get the jury to see things my way and establish a relationship with them because it's just a core human relationship. Can you meet
the
people where they are? And I think that's what being a trial lawyer is, meeting people where they are. Not trying to get them to be where you are. That's difficult. Can you meet them where they are? Just in that quick opportunity with voir dire and watching them. I remember one time we were picking a jury in Vegas, and I had a young attorney with me, so I let him second chair, and he was really annoying. God, he kept saying, "Object." During the trial, he'd keep saying, "Object, object, object." I was never a big guy for object. Unless it can hurt you, why object? Human beings don't like people that interrupt people. So if it doesn't hurt me, why would I object to look like a big shot? Well, let him keep talking. It doesn't hurt me. When you object and you beat up the other attorney, they start feeling bad for that attorney. And you make yourself look like a bully. So I was always very careful with that. Nevertheless, we're doing voir dire. I just had to throw that in for a second, but we're doing voir dire. And this one lady, the judge says, "Okay, blah, 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 blah." And so the defense attorney's questioning her, and she says, "I think Glen Lerner is the lowest form of human life. My husband's a lawyer, and Glen Lerner's an advertising attorney. He's like lower than pond scum." The judge looks at her and says, "Okay. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I think you might have a few issues sitting here." I'm like, gee whiz, I thought everybody liked me from my commercials with this great smile and everything. So I guess I learned something new. Next person, we're talking to her. First thing she says, "Everybody knows. In a wreck and need a check, dial 877-1500 for Glen Lerner." I said, "Your Honor, we will take her."
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you go. Good
Great
talking
talking to
to
you,
you.
man. It
You
was a
have nothing
pleasure.
else, right?
What was that?
We're cool?
Yeah, we're good, man. Thank you. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks for having me on. Fun. Hopefully, a few people
Appreciate
heard
it.
and they learned anything. And awesome. Tell people how to get in touch with me if they want about anything, whether it's about hearing
Give them
more
your
about
contact info.
Jesus,
How
learning
can
how
they
to
find that?
build a practice, consolidation, anything they want to talk about. I love talking to people. I love relationshiping.
How can they get in touch with you, man? How can I get in touch with you?
You can either just my personal email is my name, Glen, GlenLerner. So Glen Lerner at me.com. Glen Lerner at me.com. Or my cell phone's 39480-823-6339. I always like making new friends and, hopefully I can have a nice conversation and be empowering.
Cheers,
So
man. For sure.
peace. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.